Hey guys, how's it going? Sinapse here, and today I want to talk about the top 5 issues that foreigners have when they're trying to pick up girls in Japan. First one is they come across too clowny. Okay, so it's very easy to come in kind of high energy and be like the token foreigner and have all the girls in the group or the girl in the interaction just looking at you and be like, wow, like, oh my god, you use chopsticks and you speak the Japanese and you use all of the words and wow. And it seems like it's great, right? It seems like you're getting something nutritious, but in the end, it's just bleeding you dry, right? It's empty calories, basically. So they come in kind of high energy and falling into the pattern of that foreign guy, right? And actually what you're doing is you're alienating yourself even further from being a potential romantic interest, right? And you think it's good, you think it's like sustaining you or giving you something, right? But actually it's basically like Wonder Bread or empty carbs or loading up on sugar and then having a crash. The energy of the girl after she leaves the interaction or as the interaction carries on is much the same as a sugar crash, right? So when it's high and fun and funny in a sort of somewhat predictable and expected way, and then it kind of just peters out and dies out as the interaction goes on. And then this is usually when guys get the line, they're like, oh, I'm running out of things to say, and well, I like this girl, let me get your line, or let's go on a date. And the girl's like, either like no, or all right, I guess. And then as time goes by, she leaves and she's like, well, that guy was interesting, but I didn't get any substance from him, right? So, and then she just doesn't end up coming out on a date. So you can fix this by just coming in less, like underwhelming almost, right? More relaxed, more chill, and focus on actually just communicating with the girl rather than trying to scoop up those easy, low-hanging fruit joke type things, right? Okay. 2 is they're too touchy, okay? So this is especially specific for street or social interactions, right? Not so much for clubs where you can just be very physical. Clubs are probably the only place in Japan where it's okay and even expected to be very physical right off the bat. But on the street, you're going to want to be much more casual, right? Not touching the girl. I often don't touch the girl at all until they're in my house and I'm alone with them, right? So you would think maybe like traditional Western pickup theory says that you got to like get them used to your physicality and escalate on them like over the course of the interaction, and starting right off the bat you want to touch them or whatever. Just don't. Or if you do, make it non-threatening physicality, okay? But overall, like if you're thinking, how can I kino her or whatever, just get that out of your mind and just focus on talking to the girl, right? Because chances are touching her is not gonna get you that much, right? People in Japan, you can think of it like they have a very small personal space bubble, but it's more rigid, right? It's like more hard. Whereas in the US, for example, people have a larger personal space bubble. So if you're standing with your friends, you might stand a little bit farther away, but it's more flexible, it's more fluid, right? Like you can hug people, you can shake their hands, pat people on the back, or like whatever, physically interact with each other. And that's fine, right? So the standard is kind of distant, but you can break that, it's very flexible, right? Whereas in Japan, it's very small personal space bubble, so you can think of them on like the train or something, the packed train, all standing like sardines, and it's small, but it's rigid, right? It's hard. You know, even a girl that you've been seeing for a while, it might still be kind of awkward to hug her, even though you're having sex, right? It's just something that Japanese people, they're not super intimate with their skin-to-skin contact, and they even have a word for it of skinship, right? Number 3 is not actually relating to the girl in front of you, right? And this is kind of like a corollary or a second part to the first one, which is being too clowny, but not actually relating to her, right? You do want to relate to her as a human being, right? She is not, they are not all the same, right? She is not some soulless Disney robot that's walking around through the world and, you know, just going through the motions or whatever, even though maybe it might seem like that to the outside compared to the West, where people really try to stick out and be different. It's just a different way of interacting with the world and being social. So Japanese girls, you have to see them as a plurality, right? Like a variety of different girls, and then that you're trying to connect with each one as themselves, right? And the same way you're trying to break out of this stereotype as like the entertaining typical foreign dude, and you're trying to consistently impress them not with things you have, but with your understanding of her and the world around you in Japan, right? In Japanese, there's the distinction between the honne, or the true feelings, the interior feelings, and the tatemae, or the kind of facade, the social facade that people put on in order to best communicate with the world, right? Or to engage in social situations, right? So the honne is their honest, actual feelings, and relatively few people will ever see this, right? You know, maybe their parents or their boyfriend or their close friends, right? They'll talk about their honne, their actual feelings. But the tatemae, everybody gets a tatemae. So you have to realize that when girls are laughing at the cheap jokes that you're tempted to throw out at the beginning of the interaction, that's tatemae. Like you're not actually getting through to them as a person. Okay, so if you actually want to hook up with them, you do actually have to have interest and curiosity in them as a human being and their values and what created them, and not just stick on the surface level. So we call this cutting deeper, right? Cutting through the surface level interaction into value-based interaction with the girl in front of you. Number 4 is not taking the lead. So lots of foreigners try to be very kind of appeasing or constantly checking with her. It's like, is this okay? Like, what would you like to do? Kind of thing. Just stop doing that and make a fucking decision, right? Just pick something, okay? So it doesn't really matter. Like, if you think of like the old couple who's like, well, where should we go to dinner? Oh, I don't know. What do you feel like? I don't know. What do you feel like? Right? Just stop the pattern and just be like, we're going to get Mexican, right? And then the girl will be happy to come along with your experience and your plan, okay? But if you don't set this pattern of leadership, then she's never going to come with you for another date or come home with you, right? So realizing that from the beginning you have to be the leader, you have to plan everything out. You have to deal with the logistics and overcome the issues, whatever might happen, right? And that is the mode of expression to which she will most respond to and come along with. And in this same vein would be pulling the girl home, like actually trying to take her home. You know, there's so many cases of situations where the girl will go home and she'll be like, well, I was just waiting for him to make a move or to actually make things happen, but he just didn't, right? You have to look yourself in the mirror and being like, am I being a little bitch, or am I actually leading things and taking the interaction where it needs to go, right? Deciding the steps, right? And moving the interaction along. If she has some strong resistance, she's going to say that. She's going to be like, no, I'm not comfortable with that. And you're going to be like, all right, fine. But at least you have to make the moves, right? 5 is giving up too soon, okay? So this can happen at any point in the interaction, like the approach or the, you know, messaging the girl for a date or whenever, right? Guys just expect the girl to just blow open as soon as they talk to her, right? They're just like, well, I talked to her, I said hi to her, I did my opener, and she didn't immediately respond by sucking my dick, right? But these girls take some time to absorb your presence, okay? So you have to account for that and realize that tons of people are talking to girls in the street, right? And, you know, maybe they want to sell them something, maybe they want to date, maybe, you know, they want a variety of different things, right? You have to assert your presence in the interaction until she realizes that a response is required from her, okay? You have to stick in the interaction and assert yourself, okay? And sometimes that might be a couple seconds longer than you will feel comfortable, right? Depending on who you are, right? Another example would be with setting up a date. So a lot of times girls will just like sort of stop responding, or you know, they might like give a vague answer or something, and guys would be like, oh, I guess she doesn't like me, all right, well, delete that girl, right? Or move along. But in reality, like, you should just, if you can, if your ego doesn't take too much of a bruising, then be non-reactive and just continue messaging her, right? Imagine that in her world, she's just busy. She honestly forgot to respond. Not that she's maliciously trying to test you or like treat you like a horrible person, right? Just imagine that she's doing her best, right? Might not be the case, but the belief that she is will, you'll just invite her again another time, 2 or 3 times, and if she's worth it and you can continue doing so, eventually she might come out, right? So don't give up too soon. Japanese people, especially girls, very much like to feel that you're interested in them and you're showing kind of the dedication, putting in the time and effort into trying to get them out, right? Persistence works, boys. All right. Let me know what you thought of the video. Like, comment, subscribe, click buttons everywhere. Tell me what you thought was interesting. Tell me if you thought it was bullshit. Let me know what your experience is. See you next time.
A very diminutive sized human being. You speak languages. You like so. You pretty. So slow. 何？買い物する？喋れるよ。住んでるもん。Yeah. 英語。ちょっとだけ。今からは？帰んないで。帰る。乾杯しようよ。乾杯？うん。乾杯？ Yes. Drinking. 乾杯。乾杯。チューして話すよ。本気で乾杯する？そう、本気。8時までなら大丈夫。うん。